How many of Deadwood's most famous stories are actually true? The dead man's hand that Wild Bill supposedly held, made up in the 1920s. Calamity Jane's romance with Hickok? No evidence exists. Saloon owners feeding bodies to pigs? Never happened. Welcome back to Gunslinger Gazette. Today we're separating fact from fiction in America's most legendary frontier town. You'll discover which iconic moments actually occurred and which ones were made up. Somewhere along the way, entertaining stories replaced documented facts. This is the story of a town where myth became more powerful than reality itself. Before we dive into the real Deadwood, subscribe to hear more real truths from the Wild West. Wild Bill Hickok's final moments. August 2nd, 1876. The legendary gunfighter breaks his golden rule. For years, he always sat facing the door, always watched for trouble. But that afternoon at the saloon, he took the only empty chair. His back faced the entrance. Jack McCall stepped through those doors. The pistol found its mark. Hickok slumped forward onto his cards. Those 5 cards would become the most famous poker hand in American history. 2 black aces, 2 black eights, the jack of diamonds, the dead man's hand. Every Western fan knows this story. Museums display replicas. Movies recreate the moment. Poker players still whisper about the cursed combination. But something doesn't match up in the historical record. The newspapers reported Hickok's death immediately. The Black Hills pioneer covered every detail. The trial of Jack McCall made headlines across the country. Writers described the shock. But the specific cards? Complete silence. No witness statement mentions aces and eights. No court testimony describes the actual hand. They mention cards scattered on the table, nothing more. Marshall Trimble researched this mystery for decades. His investigation revealed the shocking truth. No one documented those specific cards until the 1920s, 50 years after the murder. Half a century of silence, then suddenly everyone knew the exact hand. But Hickok's cards? Nobody bothered to record them. The dime novel writers needed drama. Wild West shows required memorable details. A famous gunfighter deserved a legendary final hand. So they created one. 2 aces, 2 eights. The perfect combination of power and doom. Each retelling made the story stronger. Fiction replaced the empty historical record. The invented hand became more real than reality. This debunking reveals how even historical events involving well-documented figures like Hickok could be altered over time. The dead man's hand shows Deadwood's true nature, a real murder transformed into mythic theater. Even the most documented moment in the town's history turned out to be pure invention. But Hickok's fabricated final hand was just the beginning of Deadwood's romance with fiction. The frontier's greatest love story never happened. Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane captured hearts across America. Their tragic romance became legend. But the evidence tells a different story entirely. Martha Jane Canary met Hickok in Laramie, Wyoming, and they traveled to Deadwood on the same wagon train in June 1876. The timing seemed perfect for romance. 2 legendary figures, the same dangerous journey, the same gold-hungry destination. Writers would later claim this shared arrival sparked immediate attraction, but Hickok had already married Agnes Lake Thatcher in March 1876, just months before arriving in Deadwood. The legendary gunfighter was a newlywed when he reached the frontier town. This crucial detail destroys any claims of romance with Calamity Jane during his brief time there. Contemporary newspapers reveal the truth. No mention of romance between the famous gunfighter and the rough frontierswoman. No witnesses described secret meetings. No love letters surfaced after Hickok's death. The Black Hills pioneer covered every detail of frontier life. Her tales grew more elaborate each time she told them. The Hickok romance attracted crowds willing to pay for intimate details about the legendary couple. Around 1878, smallpox struck Deadwood. Jane showed her true character. She nursed the sick when others fled. She risked her own life caring for dying strangers at a time when nursing outside religious institutions was generally frowned upon. Witnesses called her a perfect angel sent from heaven. She saved countless lives through genuine courage. This real heroism deserved recognition, but romantic myths overshadowed her actual achievements. Writers needed drama for their Hickok stories. Her rough language contrasted with his refined reputation. Her wild behavior matched the frontier's chaos. The cemetery holds the final proof. Jane insisted that a proper grave be built in honor of the man she loved. Decades later, she requested to be buried next to Hickok. The placement cemented their relationship in stone. Tourists visit their graves today. Publishers preferred love stories to tales of medical heroism. The fabricated romance created its own reality through constant repetition. Yet even this invented love affair paled beside the brutal realities that popular culture preferred to ignore completely. Al Swearengen's Gem Theater represented colorful frontier vice in popular culture. The real story reveals systematic brutality that destroyed lives. Television shows focused on Swearengen's crude charisma. The documented reality shows organized crime that operated without legal consequences. The Gem Variety Theater served as Deadwood's criminal headquarters. Swearengen controlled gambling through rigged games, with accomplices like Johnny Burns using marked cards to fleece unsuspecting minors. He managed prostitution through force and intimidation. Violence enforced his rules when persuasion failed. The theater's back rooms held women who faced virtual slavery. Court records reveal the human cost of Swearengen's empire. Women faced forced prostitution after being lured from eastern cities with false job promises for respectable work in his hotel or private homes. Only upon arrival in Deadwood did they realize the intended job was prostitution, with extreme consequences for refusal. The theater's painted ladies weren't colorful frontier characters. They were victims of organized human trafficking. Swearengen bought and sold women like property. Entertaining myths overshadowed accounts of real courage and survival. HBO's famous Mr. Wu Pig story never happened. Adams Museum historians found no evidence for this dramatic scene. Writers invented the incident for television drama. Fire destroyed the Gem Theater in 1899. Swearengen called it quits, leaving Deadwood for good. Frontier freedom meant different things to different people. For powerful men like Swearengen, it meant freedom to exploit the vulnerable. For his victims, it meant imprisonment and abuse. Deadwood's lawlessness created genuine suffering alongside entertaining legends. Deadwood's real power wasn't accuracy, it was transformation. A chaotic frontier town became America's myth-making machine. Brutal survival turned into entertaining stories. Violence became adventure. Suffering became romance. In Deadwood, truth and legend didn't just blur together. The line between them was shot full of holes. Thanks for watching. If you found this story insightful, check out the video below for more in-depth tales from the Wild West.